This video is brought to you by Dr. Kristen R. Bromley's Guitar Method Book Series and Online Music Academy.
Hi, I'm Dr. Kristen Bromley. Welcome to my online academy. It's so great to have you joining me here in these online lessons. It's a Theory Thursday, so this is a fretboard theory, music theory type lesson. I love music theory. I love fretboard theory. I'm so delighted to bring this lesson series to you, along with all the other lessons that are available on the channel. Now, in this lesson, we're specifically looking at the blues scale. I love the blues scale. I use it all the time when I'm improvising, and I am just excited to share this with you. So let's go ahead and dive in here on the blues scale. Now, a little theory as far as the pitches of the blues scale. Before I jump into it, I'm going to mention that if you're familiar with the minor pentatonic scale, which I actually covered last Thursday, all we're doing is adding one pitch to that, the sharp 4 or flat 5, which I have actually indicated here with the asterisks, and on the scale forms, I've indicated it that way as well. So if you're familiar with the minor pentatonic scale, it's just a matter of saying, oh, I add this pitch here and here into my scale forms that I'm already familiar with. But this scale, by comparison to, say, our major scale, which is how we usually do this, we've got the root note, or step 1. No step 2, that's part of what we do with our pentatonics as well. But no step 2, we've got the flatted third, it's minor, and then we got the 4, the sharp 4 or the flat 5, as I just mentioned, that extra note added to, say, the minor pentatonic scale to get the blues scale. And then we got step 5 and the flatted 7th, no step 6. So we got 6 notes here, this nice little chromaticism, and it sounds, I'll just demonstrate it in G, sounds just like this. Root, flat 3, 4, sharp 4, flat 5, 5, 6, flat 7, and then that root. Started to say 6 there, but we don't have a step 6 in the blues scale. Though we have 6 steps, kind of an interesting little notion there. But that's how the pitches overlap with the major scale, or by comparison to the major scale. So we got alterations making it minor. The minor pentatonic would just have that root, flat 3, 4, 5, and flat 7, and we've added that chromatic of the sharp 4 or flat 5, which gives us some bluesy tension when we're improvising. So let's take a look at the scale forms then. If we zero in, I've got a lot of things here on the board, but if we zero in on scale form 1 here, this is the most common way that we see it played. And then I'm going to show us how we actually can end up with 5 different forms that fill out the entire fretboard, and we'll even look at how we can move between them, especially by understanding the single octave scales better that are contained within these. But let's go ahead and take a look at the most common way, or the best way, or the way that we all start out playing that blues scale, and that's with scale form 1 that I have up here on the board. And I'm going to demonstrate these in the key of G. So I'll just stick to G for this particular lesson. So my index finger is then going to be on the root note, which are the circles, or the circles around the dots is where we have the root note, so our starting pitch. So when we're playing the G, we're going to start on a G. If we were playing B flat, we'd start on a B flat, or C, we'd start on a C, and so forth. So I'm starting on that G note with my index finger there, and if I play through scale form 1 here, I would have 1, 4, I'm going to reach up 3 frets higher, and then 1, 2, 3, and then 1, 3, then 1, 3, 4, 1, 4, 1, 4, and I just come back down the same way that I went up. Classic, and like I say, the most common way that we play the blues scale on the guitar. So this is the one to start with, and I'll play it again. I'm just going to demonstrate that blues scale without talking. Now you might already be familiar with that one, and that's great, and you're here to learn about how we get the 5 forms and how all this works clear across the fretboard. And if not, this is the best one to start with. Get comfortable with it and then start learning these others. But how do we get the other 4 forms of the blues scale? Well, all we're doing is taking this form here and transferring everything to the next string. So when we come down here to form 2, we've taken this and moved everything 1 string higher, and we get another form, another way to play that blues scale on the guitar. So if I stay to the key of G, I've got a G on the 5th string, where my root is now. Everything's moved a string higher. I've got my root on the 5th string, and I could play this form at the 10th fret. My index finger is going to be at the 10th fret because that's where the G is. Before I play this, I just want to make mention that as we move these forms, sometimes what happens below the root as we move it is hard to sort of keep track of in our minds. If you take and notice that whatever is on the high string is also on the low string, that can help. So when you go to that low string, then you just continue up the form from there. So if you can kind of make that connection in your mind, you go all the way up to the high string, oh yeah, it's the same as what's on the low string, and you can continue with the form. That may help, that may not. But, okay, so scale form 2, in the key of G, I'm at the 10th fret, and I'll play through this one here. Just like that, and we can take that and transfer it another string up. So now my index finger for the key of G is at the 5th fret on the 4th string, and I'll play it there. Just like that. And if we take everything and move it one string higher, for form number 4, I've got the G that is at the 12th fret on the 3rd string, and I could play it from here. Just like that. And if we take everything and move it one string higher, for form number 5, I've got my index finger on the G at the 8th fret on the 2nd string. Just like that. And I could take and move everything to the high string, but I'm back up to form 1 because I do have that G on the high string, but it's the same as the bottom string, so I'm back to form 1. And that's the 5 forms that we end up with that fill out the entire fretboard. Now, if we look at how they stack along the fretboard, we've got scale form 1, then we skip over to scale form 3, scale form 5, then 2, then 4, then we start again with scale form 1. So in the key of G, if I demonstrate this here, we're going to start off index finger here at the 3rd fret on that low 6th string, and I have scale form 1. And then I go up to scale form 3. So where my ring finger played that higher root by comparison to the lower root, I go ahead and I'm going to put my index finger there and play scale form 3. Now, where my pinky played that higher root, which is at the 8th fret, I'm going to stick my index finger to play scale form 5. Now, where I'd put my ring finger to play that lower root, I'm going to stick my index finger to play scale form 2. And where I put my ring finger up on the 3rd string there at the 12th fret, I'm going to put my index finger to play scale form 4. And if I wanted to, I could put where my pinky was on that high string at the 15th fret, I could go back to scale form 1 and play it there. Or I could start from the low end as well. So that's how they stack up next to each other. Now, in my experience, it's best to just learn each one individually, get comfortable with them, then start trying to put them next to each other. Something that can be really helpful in unlocking how they sit next to each other on the fretboard is to see how these single octave forms work and how octaves work on the guitar. So if I stick my index finger at that 3rd fret on the 6th string, if I wanted to play the next octave up, I'm going to skip over a string and skip over a fret. When I come off the 6th string and I want to go to the next higher note that's the root, or just any note that's an octave higher, I'm going to skip over a fret, skip over a string. Same thing off the 5th string, so that was G to G, but if I want to go C to C, I'm going to do the same thing off that 5th string to the 3rd string. I'm going to skip over a string, skip over a fret to get one octave higher. From the 4th and 3rd strings to go higher, you're going to skip over a string and skip over 2 frets. So when I'm here, I'll just do it with the F, but at the 3rd fret still. If I want to skip, I'm at an F. If I want to skip to another F, I'm going to go 3 frets higher, so skip over 2 frets, but still skip over 1 string. So from the 4th string to the 2nd string, I skip over those 2 frets and I have the octave. And then same thing on the next string if I do B flat to B flat. So on the 3rd and 4th strings, you're going to skip over 2 frets instead of 1, but still just skip over 1 string and you will have the octave. That matters because it can help us find the forms as we move through. So if I'm back in G and I skip over from that 6th string up to the 4th string, I'm going to skip over 1 fret and I've got the octave. Then from there, if I put my index finger and now skip over the string and skip over 2 frets, I've got the octave again, and then I'm out of space to do that. But actually, if you think of like the C chord, play an actual C chord, that note to that note, those are octaves. So here I am, put my ring finger down, I've got that lower octave, and I stick my index finger there at the 5th string, and I can skip over a string, skip over a fret. So I've got it there, and then if I put my index finger, I skip over 2 frets, but still skip over 1 string, and I've got that higher note there. And that can be a way to find this. Then if you can see the single octave forms, so let's look at the single octave forms for a second. If we start just with 1 octave, I've got 1 octave of the scale form, I can play that, and I can take that 1 octave and move it across the string sets. We're going to see that here as it was the bottom octave of everything we moved across when we were learning the 5 forms. So I've got that single octave form there, and then I've got it up for G, and for G, and for G. This is a helpful place to realize that because of the tuning difference between the B and G strings, anytime we get up to that 2nd string, we're going to be shifting 1 fret higher. So as we work through these forms, that's why they kind of get a little tricky to learn, because we always have to shift a little bit higher, 1 fret higher when we're on that 2nd string. Because the tuning difference between all the strings is a perfect 4th, except between the B and G strings. It's only a 3rd, so we have that 1 fret difference in space, and we compensate for that as we're playing these scales. So what's cool with this single octave form, if you can see that, and you know how to find those roots, I play my single octave form, and then I put my index finger there, and I play my single octave form, put my index finger where I ended off, play my piece of my single octave form. Then I can come down using sort of that C chord shape to find that lower root. I play my single octave form, and then I skip up and I play my single octave form. And then I could go higher, but I'm just going to be back lower. And that can be a way to sort of see your way through and find your way through these. Interestingly enough, you can do it with the alternate single octave form. So we got one that starts with the index finger. We got one that starts with the ring finger or the pinky, depending on how you want to finger it. But if I start with my G at the 15th fret and play this form, which is at the bottom of scale form 4 here, I can play... Connect this to itself, but you're going to see that that G up high, when you come to it, you're going, and you just have a piece of it. Or if I start on the G here and play that, I've got that higher piece, and I can play. So you can see, you can get inside of these forms that way too, but it's much, much easier to see it with this first form, or just form 1, or option A that we started off the bottom of these with. So that, I hope, is helpful to you on how to play the blues scale on the guitar, sort of unlocks it. Now, this is a scale that we use to improvise. You may want to check out the lesson series. There's 20 lessons that get you going on improvising in the pop, rock, and blues styles. And there's 18 different jam-along tracks that you get to play over and work on improvising over. So there's a lesson series there if you want to learn how to use these scales and just learn them a piece at a time. Work on improvising with them, which is what they get used for the most, which is where they are so fun. So hope that helps. Of course, next Thursday we'll be going over some more scales. That's what we're working on right now in this fretboard theory course, and it's super, super fun. So we got new lessons that come out each week, of course, and then there's over 1,000 lessons already released on the channel. So lots of great ways to get help, and there's the method books. The theory and technique book has lots and lots of things on scales, way more than I can go into, and of course they're written out easy for you to see with lots of explanations. So that book's amazing, and that new edition has so much in it, but lots of help with the method books as well. So keep having fun, take care, and we'll see you again. If you found this video helpful, please hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. For more in-depth lessons and to progress through a free guitar course, check out my Guitar 101 series on YouTube and my guitar method books, which all come with access to hours of in-depth video lessons. You can find more information about me and my products at KristenBromley.com. Take care.